Can you think back to the day you were hired by the post house that you work at now? What's the story and why did they hire you?
When I at first even found out about the studio Brute and Strobe and trying to get into their post division, it was, I found the job posting and I immediately applied. And I had some skills and a good body of work, not overwhelming, but a decent enough body of work. And so I sent it in and I didn't hear anything. And I was like, I will work here. I need to work here. And so then I kept pushing and pushing and pushing and like reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. And after all of this reach out, I got to the point where I was emailing like probably 4 or 5 times a week, just like inquiring about all of this stuff. And then at one point I was like, all right, I'm done. And then a week later, Tim Wilson, who's now my business partner because I'm a partner at the studio, he reached out and was like, hey, I'm not sure how I missed all of your stuff, but it's really great. We should talk. I'm like, what do you mean? I emailed you so many times. And so it was just like very, consistent pushing and trying to position myself. And so it felt like such a relief. I was so excited because that was the first editor position, editor. Like I'd been editing, but that was where I could sell all my camera gear, focus specifically on this craft. And so I saw it as an opportunity to like shed everything else and focus specifically on the craft of editing. And to do it here with these people, it was an honor. It was really exciting.
And you said quickly sell all your camera gear, so you were ready to move on from being the quote-unquote filmmaker into the editing portion.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I have always hated production. I hate the hours, I hate the mornings, I hate inconsistent meals. I like consistency. I wake up at the same time, I go to bed at the same time. I have 2 children now, so not as much, but like having that consistent, like I loved that, and that's where my creativity can kind of flourish. And so I was doing production just to get to post-production, whether it's commercial projects or independent projects. And so post and specifically editing was always my primary passion. And so once I got to a point where I could get rid of all of the other things I was doing and focus exclusively on editing, it was a good day.
And you seem like you're very disciplined.
Yeah, I like to think so. There's a lot of aspects of editing that you kind of have to be disciplined, especially in documentary editing, because you just live with the project for so long. You have to maintain that excitement, that passion, the collaboration, the excitement for the project as well as the content. 200, 300, 400 hours of footage plus 2-3 years of editing. You have to have kind of that discipline to always remember the audience, always remember your position as the first audience, and like finding your way through the material. And so setting up personal, guardrails or creative guardrails and ways to approach the material and always have it be fresh, even if it's 3 years in. So there's a lot of discipline in that. And also in a commercial environment, whether it's original content commercial like with a platform or a streamer, or if it's actual branded commercial content, like you have to be creative right now. Like you don't have time to wait around for your genius to come around and bless you with some creative inspiration. It's like I got somebody in the seat right next to me that's like, we gotta go. And so also building a space and an environment to be able to flip on creativity when you need it, I feel like takes a lot of discipline as well.
And had that always been your style to be, I don't know, for lack of a better word, relentless when you wanted something? You said you emailed numerous times to this post house.
Yeah.
Was that something you'd done in the past or only for this job specifically?
In the industry, I would say it's for this job, but like personally, I would say I am a bit relentless with the things that I really want and the things that I know I can excel at. It's like, that's my seat. I know that's my seat. I know I can crush it. I know I still have things to learn, but I know that I can come in and knock it out of the park. And so for those things, I have always been relentless. This was kind of my first, it was very serendipitous and perfect, like St. Louis, Missouri, you wouldn't think, and all of a sudden here's this gem of a production company that needs post. I mean, it was just like, this is crazy. I can't believe this happens. And like, we'll have clients come in and they'll say, this is crazy. I can't believe this exists. And so it was like, this is my opportunity. Like, I can do this thing and I can do it here. And so it was like, I need to be relentless. I need that seat.
Anyone hiring an editor, what questions should they ask ahead of time?
Are you speaking to like perhaps like a director hiring an editor for a project?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think to identify if the questions want to get at if this is going to be a good collaboration. So what's your mode of operation. You can see the body of work, and there's a lot of people that have good work, but to also have a great process is the difficult thing to find, because with feature doc, you're going to be working with them intimately for 1 to 3+ years. And so they may have a great product, but if they have a bad process, it's not going to be a great environment to make a film. And so for me, when I'm speaking with directors and they're talking to me, I always want them to ask those questions of like, what's your process? How do you go about constructing a scene? How do you go about collaborating with a director? How much involvement do you want from a director? At what point? At what time? And so identifying and making sure that the needs or the desires of the director and where the editor excels fit together in like a cohesive way. Because once you get into like, there are definitely opportunities in the industry and in this to have contentious relationships between a director and an editor. But I think that's also why you see directors find their editor and stick with them for life. Like, you know, I mean, there's the Quentin Tarantinos they find their editor and like, I will use nobody else. And so for me, a lot of that comes down to process. Like, what's the editor's process? And if a director and an editor can land on a process, if the work is good, if they can land on that process, that's the real exploration that I think directors need to do when they're considering and chatting with editors.
Okay, what if it's more of a first-time director and they don't even know that there is a process?
Yeah.
Are there certain things that then they should be aware of when working with an editor, or that you would be aware of working with a first-time director?
Yeah, the first-time director is an interesting relationship, especially from an editor perspective. I think it would be very wise for a director for a first-time director to pull in an editor who's had some experience and has done this a few times before. I mean, they don't need to be super seasoned, but there's a lot of learnings that editors have, because a director will maybe do a film once every couple of years, especially in the doc world, like once every couple, like sometimes they'll have them staggered, but their time between projects can be much longer, whereas editors are kind of like, they cut it and now we're on to the next, or we're doing a couple at the same time, like working out calendars. And so the editor has a lot of interesting viewpoints of how a bunch of other directors do their thing. And so for first-time directors, having conversations with editors, I think having the understanding and asking and leaning on them for like, how have you seen this done before? Like a sense of humility, I guess, to be like, how have you seen this done before? Because I know you've seen it done by all these other directors. What's worked and what hasn't worked? And like, how can I posture this project so that we can achieve this success that we all want? So I've had conversations with first-time directors like that. That's just like, hey, you've seen this like more times than I may ever in my career. Like, what have you seen work?
And for editors, what should they be asking their potential client? I guess it would depend on whether it is a seasoned director. Let's say it is a seasoned director.
Yeah. I think for an editor, having a conversation with a seasoned director, you want to find out what success is for them in the process and the product. Like, where are you wanting this project to go in and of itself, and how are you wanting to get it there? Because you can have a great product. I'm big on product and process. You'll hear that. So you can have a great product, but the process sucks, and vice versa. You can have a great process, but if the product, everyone's disappointed, you know. And so when I'm talking with more seasoned directors, it's, where is this fitting? In my mind, it's like, where is this fitting in your career, your body of work, and where are you wanting this to take you, and how are you wanting me to collaborate with you in order to get it there and to get you to where you want to go and need to go, and then hopefully we do the next one together. Because those repeat relationships, as we were talking earlier, those repeat relationships are what really lays the foundation and the groundwork for, I think, an amazing body of work for both the editor and the director. And so when I'm talking to seasoned directors, I'm trying to identify, like, plot where they are in their career and in their body of work, and like where I can enter into that conversation and elevate and help accelerate where they are and where they want to go.
And as someone who is highly organized and structured, which is awesome, I'm sure you've dealt with people at various levels on the spectrum of being organized or disorganized. What can a director do to help their editor? Maybe organization is not their strong suit, but they know, look, I'm going to enter into this thing for 2 years. I need to be a good team player. How can I be organized?
I think really relying on the structure. I mean, hopefully the editor is organized. If you have a director that's disorganized, because a disorganized editor and director would be a trip. But So if the editor is organized, like really relying on the structures that they're building around the process rather, so that the director doesn't have to worry about it. That's always my, like, if you're a disorganized director, I want to build the scaffolding so that you don't have to worry about it. If you have a note, this is where the note goes. If you have a thought, this is where the thought goes. If you have this is where, so like build the scaffolding around so that it's not cumbersome for them to feel like they're falling behind or feel like they're messing up the system or feel like they're breaking things along the way. It's like, let's kind of build this structure that works for you and for me. And so for every project, it's a totally different, not totally different, but it's a catered workflow. It's a catered process because this director is an individual. They're unique. They have their own quirks. They're organized in this aspect, not in this aspect. So let's build different structures around the process so that they feel comfortable and they feel, taken care of by the process. Because honestly, you like want all of that stuff to get out of the way so you can always remain high level, creative, conceptual, storytelling, making movie. Like you want to remain there. And so if you're getting too bogged down in the mechanics of it and the organizational of it, like that should be the editor's job to either organize or to help the director have a process to be organized.